Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This guy over here is Tim, and today we have another call-in session. This one I'm looking forward to because the key to these is it shows you are not alone across this great nation, because Second Amendment support is strong across the board, and that is what we aim to get to in these calls. And if you are new or you are a returning viewer, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and making sure that notification bell is on. We would love to have you guys help Second Legacy grow, because we think it can make a true impact in passing our blessings on to the next generation. And if you want to be on the live call-in show, there is a Google form right down there in the description box. Make sure you fill that out. We'd love to see the schedules align and get you on the call. I'm going to say a quick word from our sponsor, Bullet Safe, and then we are going to hit it. Now, the vest you're seeing me wear is from Bullet Safe, and they've sponsored these videos. Bullet Safe is on a mission to be the #1 provider for safety equipment such as this for not only the civilian, but also the security market. Now, the VP3 that I'm wearing comes in at $299.97, which makes it completely affordable and provides up to or better than Kevlar protection. This thing is NIJ level 3 tested. You are talking about up to 44 Magnum stopping on this bad boy. They've made it concealable, discreet, comfortable, and breathable. It's modular and upgradable, and in comparison to previous models, it's 50% thinner and 25% lighter. As you can see, I'm wearing in the filming of this spot, and it is not even adding to any of my dexterity whatsoever. This is something very concealable, and if you're in the market, this might be something just for you. And thank you to Bullet Safe for making this content possible. All right, so thank you to Bullet Safe. Write down there in the comments in the description if you are interested or in the market for something. But let's get to this. We have Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for calling in. What you got for me and Tim?
So what's going on, fellas? So, unfortunately, I have to admit I'm from Washington State, and so you all know that they just recently passed this AR ban, which isn't going to survive very long, we hope. But anyway, I was listening to the legislature doing a press conference, and she mentioned a couple things that stuck out to me. She mentioned that, we got to get these weapons of war off our streets. And I got to thinking, I've never seen anybody just willy-nilly rolling around with an AR or anything on the street. So that in and of itself is a fallacy, right?
Oh,
for the most part, we'll get into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Tim's chomping at the bit. I'm excited.
Got numbers. Yeah.
But here's the second part that really kind of stuck out to me was the fact that she called it a weapon of war. And I was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. It is a weapon of war, and it's for one very specific war in particular, that being the war on tyranny. Right now, it simply serves as a deterrent. You try to take that away or whatever, well, that's what we got.
Right. So, Tim, I'm not even going to do an intro. You got it. Go.
All right. So, yeah. So what I find really interesting, and I got to preface this because no matter what you say, somebody's going to get into the comments and say, oh, you're anti-gun. No, I'm not. This is just for the sake of argument, right? I don't want anything banned that is, firearm related. So what's funny about the anti-gunners is they got this current fixation on the AR-15. Actually, they've had this for quite some time, but right now it's the AR-15. And it used to be, 20 years ago it was the AK. Now it's the AR. But so they have this fixation and they're saying these weapons of war, oh my gosh, we're in imminent danger of being gunned down by this rogue gun hiding behind a tree going, get you. And that just doesn't bear out in the FBI statistics. If you take a look at the FBI statistics from the last reporting period, there's less than 300 rifles used to commit violent crime in the United States, murders, right?
Oh, exactly.
300. So of that 300, that's rifles of all types. Of that 300, AR-15s fit in there somewhere. And that's going to be probably less than 100. So you're infinitely more likely to be killed by a drunk driver. You're infinitely more likely to be hit by lightning. You're infinitely more likely to fall down the stairs and die. You're infinitely more likely to drown in your own swimming pool. You're infinitely more likely to be killed any number of ways, including by hands and feet in a bar fight, than you are by somebody misusing an AR-15. Yet the AR-15 is what they're focusing on. The most commonly used firearm in crime is a handgun, but they're not going for the handguns. Why? Because Americans want their handguns, right? So, but they also are panicking because the AR-15 has upticked in sales so much over the last 15, 20 years that they want to nip that in the bud before the rifle becomes as popular as handguns, which are probably getting pretty close.
Exactly right.
And so that's why they're fixated on this. Go ahead.
Yeah. I think what it is that they want to disarm us so that they can control us. I mean, that's the simple thing right there.
Oh, absolutely.
They can't control a population that's armed. And
well,
they try to shame every gun owner or every AR owner as a weapon of war. It's like, well, I'm not taking any shame in that. It is a weapon of war. That was the whole reason I bought the thing.
To use their analogy, the actual weapon in a war is the soldier.
Yes.
A weapon is a tool.
That's absolutely right.
guns don't hurt people. People hurt people, right? So if they want to get the weapon of war off the street, get those violent criminals off the street. It doesn't matter what tool they use. They're going to be violent. The violence in this country. You know, I saw something in the news today I thought was really bold for a current presidential candidate that Biden refuses to debate, and that's Kennedy. Kennedy just said that when are we going to have a study? When is the NIH going to do a study to find out what is the correlation between drugs, psychologically prescribed drugs for psychological issues, and these shootings? Because it seems like with the increase in these drugs and their usage, we're seeing violent tendencies increase in our society. Why is that, and why are we not talking about it? And these are conversations we need to have, because everybody going for the gun and blaming the gun for the actions of people is so flawed. So what happens if they say, okay, well, we get your 10-round magazine, you have single-shot revolvers and muzzle loaders, and that's it, and somebody still kills somebody else? Or are they going to say, well, we trusted you with those muzzle loaders, we're going to have to take those away now? What are you going to deal with the person pulling the trigger?
Right. And that's so there's, and I think this is such an interesting conversation, just to jump in on this. Everything that you said, completely founded in statistics, FBI statistics. It's available to the public. This is not secret information. So the fixation on the ARs, I think there's so many different so many different avenues to and nuances to this ban the ARs, weapons of war, assault weapons, whatever term that they want to use at the time, whatever fits their narrative and focus groups. Yes, they want to take the AR-15s because it's the easiest target, because it's not handguns. Like you said, Americans want their handguns, so Democrats aren't going to touch those. But the AR-15s, they can isolate and they can demonize and they can target. So if you do that, it accomplishes multiple purposes. One, you've got something that they would consider as too terrifying to exist as a weapon of war, which, by the way, is the most common the most common rifle in the United States. Just saying. So it falls under the protections of common use from the Heller decision, from all the different decisions. But anyway, but the other piece of this is economics. One of the approaches that they consistently do, from Biden all the way down, they want to get rid of the PLCAA, the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. They want that gone so they can sue gun companies out of existence. They want to utilize lawfare because they can't do it legislatively because the Second Amendment stops them. That is a well-known tactic. The AR-15 is fueling the gun industry over the last 10 to 15 years to a revenue input or influx they've never seen before. That goes into R&D. That goes into defense. That goes into lawsuits. That goes into all sorts of things that undermine the gun control efforts. The AR-15 is the target for a lot of reasons, not just the fact that it's an AR-15. But, I mean, to be honest.
And the weapon of war thing cracks me up, because literally everything we have, from kitchen knives to pointed sticks, have been weapons of war.
Exactly.
Right. Bows and arrows. So this whole argument, but see, once again, the anti-gunners get into focus groups and they throw out terms and they go, does this scare you? Yes. Ooh, this is really scary? Oh, yes. Okay, we're going to use this. And that's why they keep trotting out these silly terms. And like the assault weapon, it's a play on assault rifle. An assault rifle is a real thing. An assault weapon is a made-up term from the Clinton administration. But they've moved past that because we've beaten that back, saying there's no such thing. Stop it. So now they're on to weapon of war, weapons of mass destruction. That's actually nuclear bombs and chemical weapons and biological weapons, but you be you.
Right.
They just won't stop with it. They're just trying to scare people that don't know anything, people that don't own them. And so they can hold up an AR-15, which is scary looking to some people. They can call it a weapon of war or a weapon of mass destruction, and the layman on the street that doesn't own one is going to go, ooh, yeah, we don't want weapons of war, mass destruction floating around out there. Let's ban them. And that's what they're trying to do. They're leveraging stupidity against the unknowing masses.
It's just like, coining the scary term ghost gun, ooh.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
The gun grabbers are full of scary terms. That's all they got.
That's what it's about. It's managing perception. It is literally one of the most fascinating things because I love what I do. I get to look at these things in real time and pick up trends and tie things together. I love doing what I do. And one of the most interesting pieces about it is the terms and the nomenclature that they introduce randomly. Like, for example, about 2 years ago, they realized that there might have been a little situation going around in the United States. And they're like, you know what would be really land well? Calling gun violence the epidemic of gun violence, because there's a direct tie-in of what's going on right now. So we should just tie that together. And now it's fading all of a sudden because the original catalyst is fading. Now it's back to gun violence or weapons of war or military. Like it's constantly a game of branding. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, my favorite is gun violence. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's right up there with the car violence and the airplane violence and
Oh,
the
yeah.
poison
Air
violence.
violence.
And the thing that's disgusting to me is, the anti-gunners that run many of the mainstream media outlets, many times they won't even talk about the perpetrator. All they talk about is the firearm. And I don't want to name the perpetrators. I don't want to give, airtime to these people, because if you go back to Columbine, those types of violent acts within schools and things like that were fairly uncommon, were quite uncommon. Then you had
Very
Columbine
uncommon.
happen. Then you had that clown go out there and make bowling for Columbine, and then all of a sudden these killers were immortalized. They were turned into pop culture icons, and literally every single school shooter, I just got to call them what they are,
You just got to call it what it is.
every single one of them will talk about Columbine. They'll cite Columbine in their notes and their ramblings online, whatever. And it goes back to they're manufacturing this problem because young minds are impressionable and people we're a competitive species. So if somebody goes out and does something and harms 10 people, the next person in line wants to harm 10 or more. And so they're creating this situation it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and it feeds their political narrative, and therefore they have blood on their hands because they're doing this on purpose, in my view.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think what's so fascinating about that, and I think it's a dark subject. It's very macabre.
It
But
is.
The fact is we need to find a way to stop these things, and I think that a big element of that, of course, is not, you don't penalize an entire population within their rights that are guaranteed in the Constitution because of criminal behavior, as egregious as the criminal behavior is. I think that's an important thing. You have to be able to articulate that. I think it has to go beyond over my dead body or out of my cold dead hands. Yes, fine. I understand if you have that mentality, but you have to be able to articulate that a little bit further. Like what I just said, for example, that's a much harder point to defeat than just out of my cold dead hand, because there's no argument there. It's a statement, if that makes sense. And I think that's such a powerful thing that we have to address, because we need to stop these things. But it doesn't mean you need to infringe upon the rights of every single American to do it. I think that's a very important distinction.
Well, first they have to recognize the problem before they can fix it. Right now they're in denial. They won't even talk about the problem. The problem is societal, but they won't deal with that. So they're just going to keep blaming inanimate objects because that serves their political agenda.
Well, it's also
And-
easier because then you don't have to go down are morals and ethics universal? Can there be 300 million different versions of truth?
Right. And you can't be racist or misogynistic or whatever if you're after an inanimate object. But if you go after criminals, they can say, well, you're just going after criminals because you're a racist, you're a misogynist, you're just some sort of an ist, right? And so I think it's the safe way, but it also serves the political agenda that they want, which is disarmament. It goes back to Ryan's point. It's about people control, has nothing to do about gun control or safety. These people obviously don't care about safety. Look at the cities that they run. The cities are running rampant.
Mm-hmm.
They continuously pass laws that empower the criminal and penalize the innocent citizen. And
San Diego
they want this chaos, apparently.
Yeah, I told you this morning before the show, San Diego just is putting forward laws that say security guards can't draw their weapons in defense of property.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Yeah. They just passed that. It's almost like they enjoy the crime.
They didn't pass it. They introduced it.
Oh, it didn't pass
it's
yet?
gonna
Yeah.
fly like basketball cleats.
It's as screwed up as a football bat, as my cameraman would say.
It's about as dumb as a screen door on a submarine.
Submarine. I know that one. All right, Ryan. Well, thank you for calling in, man. That's a great question. Feel free to call back in if you want to. Guys, if you want to be part of the show, there is a document down in the video description below. Follow that link, get into that document, sign up. We'll give you a call. We'll get you on the show. You can ask a question or you can make a statement. We like having that conversation. But until then, thank you for watching. We'll talk to you guys soon.